let's start.
Thank you so much, Liu, for waking me up. I was so tired of working on this project. So, we are Group C, and our members are Ping-Hsuan Liu, Yu Zhangchai from National Taiwan University, and Yoshiki Kawai from Kobe University. Next, we will presentation proposal for sustainable development goals for FUSO CAS Challenge 2020. First, it's a brief outline of this presentation. Our presentation is divided into two main parts. First part, me and you will presentation summary of our qualitative research. And second part, Yoshiki will presentation our proposal based on our qualitative research with 6 Ps. So the first part, our focus group. Who are our interviewees? We conduct our focus group from various of background in order to make sure that we can get a more local view on this question. Next, how we interview. We design a number of 6 series of questions for our interviewee to talk about their opinions and experience about topics related to sustainable development. So our focus group can be divided into 3 main categories. First, study about university students in the United States from Temple University. Second, local Japanese university students across various of majors from Keio, Chuyo, Kobe, Kyoto, and Rikio. And last, professional idea from assistant professor at National Taiwan University Department of Political Science. So this is a brief introduction of our focus group. And next, Liu will presentation the part of our interview.
Okay, thank you so much, Tsai, for your introductions about our focus groups and our interviewees. And for my part, I'm going to introduce about the 6 questions that we ask our interviewees and about their opinions and experience. All right, so let's just begin with. First questions we ask our interviewees is how well automobile makers contribute to sustainable consumptions and productions. Well, most of our interviewees believe that automobile makers can contribute uh, to ways for sustainable consumptions and productions. The first is related to producing process by using technologies like AI and big data, cut over the useless stock parts, and also develop more efficient and develop a more efficient production line. The other ways is using sustainable energies instead of fossil fuels or introduce recycling process into the factories of productions. And I think what they are talking about is most likely to mostly related to inventory management. um, the Mitsubishi FUSO should design some kind of inventory management of which materials to stock and which not to be stocks, and those things can be predicted with nowadays technologies like AIs and big data. and other things like they say about recycling process into a factory. I think they are most talking about what Mitsubishi Fuso do to those old trucks or old cars. Some part of the materials can be able to recycle or things like that. Okay, the second idea they come up with is related to the related with products facilitate buy efficient automobiles like HVs and EV into markets. Okay, so this is the first question. The second question: what is your expectations to future automobiles? Well, most of our interviewees answer these questions of that they think that the future automobile should be applied with blockchain, which is the users or say the drivers should be able to communicate directly to the car. Also, the AI on the car should be continuous communicate with the cloud and all automobiles each others. In short, blockchain using in automobiles is to decentralize the AI user and automobiles communications to make them having the same ways to communicate and communicate in the same level. I think in another words is to decrease the information asymmetry. All right, so this is the second question that we ask our interviewees. The third question that we ask our interviewees is, what is your main value of the industry automobiles and these players? And most of our interviewees answer these questions about of they said that the current industrial automobiles doesn't contribute sustainable life well. Industrial cars are related with logistics and distribution deeply. In these businesses and industries are focusing on speed, large capacities, and cutting cost. There are enough incentives for the makers to work for sustainable automobiles, which requires a lot of cost. I think what they're talking about is that if you see from an economics perspective, um, those automobile industries makers is trying to achieve the scale of economics. The economics of scale, or say the economics of scale, is to produce as more as they can, uh, because in that way they can able to decrease the cost of each unit. But they didn't add on the external cost to the environment when they are contain their total cost structures. But I think it's mainly because they don't wanted to care about environment, because wasn't that just as some of our interviewees said, they just doesn't have the enough incentive to think about it. All right, so this is the third question. The fourth question: what is your main value to sustainable automobiles? Well, a lot of our interviewees talks about that sustainable automobiles should distribute to suitable markets. For example, some EU countries like France or Germany are developing on nuclear energies for their electricities. In other words, they can reach stable electric in full. Therefore, electronic vehicles is a suitable, sustainable automobiles in their markets. However, if we see in Japan and Taiwan, most are depending our electronic energy for fossil fuel systems. So our electronic is not stable and not environmental friendly. These in our countries, which is Japan and Taiwan, EV is not suitable. I think this is a very good point too, because when you wanted to have the sustainable automobiles, you need to have some kind of systems that can support the sustainable automobiles. And nowadays, because sustainable automobiles is most main their main um, energy comes from the electricities. And so, if a country doesn't have the energy producing stable energy producing, it might cause a province when they execute sustainable automobiles within their markets. Okay, so this is the first question. The fifth questions that we ask of our interviewees is for the industry automobile developer, how to contribute efficient use of natural resources, reduction of eliminating chemicals and waste, and reducing the some bad effects to atmosphere and human life. Well, a lot of our interviewees says that nowadays the needed to introduce the automobile industry needed to introduce the new concept of transportations. The automobile industry will need to have a reflections about how can transportation be redefined. Like for instance, one of our interviewees says that if the logistics do not need to involve with human, only goods need to be moved, then we can redesign the automobiles for transportation with more sustainable elements in it. I think it's very true because we can see examples like drones. The thinking man for when we design a drone and when we design like a jet or like an airplane is very different, because when we design something that involves with human life, we oftentimes have to have to make those products more safe, and to achieve more safe, which means we need more materials to build in, and more materials to build in, which means uh, that wasn't really considered a friendly move to our environment. So the needed to introduce the new concept of transportation is it's a it's a thing that really needs the automobile industry to rethink about it. So this is our fifth questions. And to the last questions of how how the Mitsubishi Fuso will contribute to SDG 12. What do you think? What's their opinion? Well, they think that the blockchain concept, as we talked about in question two, um, here they say the blockchain concept to let the consumers understand the full process of production until later on service repairment. Developing sustainable production process, automobiles, and driving experience. I think what they're talking about is that the Mitsubishi Fuso should use the blockchain concept to connect everything, is to which in other words it means to decentralize the whole process from beginning of production to later on the driver's experience. I think because when people have more knowledge on what's going on with their car, they are more willing to pay more attention on helping Mitsubishi Fuso to contribute SDG goals. And I think that's one of the strategies that Mitsubishi Fuso can consider about it. And for our more detailed proposals, Yoshiki will do it later on, and his proposal is on 6 P's. And I hope you guys enjoy it. Thank you.
From now, we are going to introduce proposal with 6 parts of which capital letter is P. In short, our project is changing the revenue model of EV truck business. Let me explain the details of this project. Before we started to conduct interview and make proposal, we heard studied about Mitsubishi FUSO. Then we learned that Mitsubishi FUSO is an industrial automobile developer. They conducted electronic vehicle trucks, for example, e-counter, and some environmental activities too. And they're setting a target as completely shift to neutral fleet of new vehicles by 2039. From their business, movement, and target, we selected 12 from SDGs as our project goal to suggest sustainable and contributable business. Our project idea is based on interview data, which we introduced format part. We picked up some key elements from them to create project. First, anticipation of the future automobiles. We found that undergraduates and professors anticipate sustainable and information technology automobiles regardless of their nationality. Second, anticipation of the future automobile suppliers. Automobile supplier is required these things to sustain our world. These are related with not only product itself, but also production and business models. From them, we generated project. These are our project outlines. First, selling EV trucks with lower prices as hardware. Second, mounting information system and network system on their EV trucks, which is based on AI, cloud, and blockchain as software to conduct next things. Third, supplying after services with contact package. For example, providing the best distributing routes, recycling EV battery, and maintenance services. In addition, in the future, providing self-driving system will be contained. The most important point is this after-service will be a main revenue spot in our idea. Here, we will explain more detailed business project structure. Before that, setting the assumptions. First, we couldn't reach exact price of EV trucks of Mitsubishi FUSO. However, new counter is sold around $50,000 in the Japanese website. In addition, Japanese automobile maker sells EV about 1.5 to 2 times higher price than similar model of gasoline engine vehicle in Japan. Therefore, considering that we set ordinary EV trucks price as $80,000. Second, EV battery will terminate its life within 10 years. Third, truck consumers will use truck 10 years, and they will renew contract by buying next truck. Fourth, our suggesting after service contract will charge customers per year. In this slide, we will compare business style ordinal model with our proposal. We adjust ordinal model as model A and our plan as model B. Model A is focusing revenue spot on the price of automobile itself. They set higher price to delivery cost. Therefore, main income flow is selling and renewal trucks. Makers can gain $80,000 at those timing. On the other hand, model B is focusing revenue spot on the after sold, setting a lower price to distribute EV trucks. In this proposal, we set the body's price at $40,000. It is half of original price. In addition, this is equal or less to gasoline type counter. The revenue difference and cost within 8 years. If Mitsubishi FUSO can extend truck's life by maintenance and recycle until next contract, in this setting 10 years later, they can gain another revenue. This graph shows difference of model A and model B. Model A represents blue line and model B represents orange one. As you can see, if it be able to extend truck lifespan by after service, it will be able to surpass revenue. Our project has 5 crucial points. First, this project will enlarge EV trucks market by selling with lower price. Second, through this project, Mitsubishi FUSO will provide high-quality driving experience by information technologies and after services. These are related with provision values. Second point is direct and easy to understand. The first point is in direct theory, which is by external economics. For example, truck drivers may be able to get easier access to EV charger in enlarged EV truck market. Third, this project is based on existing technology. For example, Mitsubishi FUSO provides real-time internet service Truck Connect. Currently, it provides information of safety driving, real-time tracing, and so on with contract. Our project is an example that strengthens of this business model. In addition, the basic theory of recycling a battery has already developed. Therefore, the possibility of providing recycled servers in the future is not so low. Fourth, extending coal lifetime by recycling EV battery and suitable maintenance. And fifth, changing income flow before allowing product model to reflect it. These 2 points are how to contribute SDGs 12. Considering the SDGs 12, recycling parts, extending product life cycle, efficient use of resources, and decreasing waste are product makers' new responsible. Our project will be able to meet them. In addition, not only contribute to the environment, Mitsubishi FUSO will be able to make business more sustainable by enforcing customer relationships through fulfilling of the services. In this slide, we summarize project merits from 3 directions. As you can see, this project can give merits each directions, customers, Mitsubishi FUSO, and society. Let's discuss this proposal's summary. First, people anticipate more sustainable automobiles which have information technologies. Second, via turning a profit model to after-selling model, automobile makers can contribute to sustainable society through acquiring SDGs 12. Third, at the same time, automobile makers can make business more sustainable and generate another revenue. And then, our last word of this proposal. Through this proposal, acquiring SDGs is changing the goal to the incentive. That's all, folks. Thank you for watching and listening.